So everybody, what is a dating coach and do you need one? To answer this, I've got a really amazing guest today. It's relationship and dating coach Cora Boyd. Hey Cora.
Oh, thanks for
Hi.
having me.
My pleasure. And of course, I'm dating coach Hayley Quinn. Before we go into the ins and outs of the dating coach industry, which is already making it sound a little bit salacious, I wanted to ask you, for the people that are watching at the moment, is there like a big sign that you might need a dating coach, or that a dating coach might be something that's relevant to your life? Because obviously, to state the obvious, hiring a dating coach, whilst I think it's super amazing, and you probably do too, it's not necessarily like the first place you might think to go to. It's not as commonplace as hiring like a personal trainer or a therapist yet. So if someone's watching this video and is thinking, I might need a little bit of help here in the dating advice department, what are some common problems that you come across or signals that someone might actually need that support?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think various things, the main one being just if you look at your love life and you notice, things aren't really moving forward there, or like, why is that same pattern keep happening, or why do I keep attracting that same type of person, or any sort of mentality around not having agency. And that's my huge thing, and I know you do this too, but really helping people see that they do have agency, and that there is a skill set to it. There is a kind of an understanding and a learning we can do around this area of life that's super learnable. It's super learnable. So any sort of thought pattern that or mindset that someone might notice, thinking that, oh, this is for everyone else, but it's not for me. Oh, but there's not really anything I can do about it. Oh, well, like, this is just how it is. This is just what happens. So anyone who is feeling kind of defeatist about it, and their love life is not where they would like it to be.
So because I hear that, I guess, a lot of the time as well. It's the kind of things, you said the classic statements would be, I always attract the wrong person.
Yeah.
So again, it's not about you. It's just that they find you somehow. The real weird people, they find their way to you, or like, I'm just not lucky in that area. Yeah. So putting it all down to luck, and of course, luck is part of the equation. But I totally agree. There's so much that you can do to change that. And I guess the other thing, and I'm going to admit, I probably said this when I was single, which is I'm doomed. I'm doomed. It's just, that's it. Or the old, you know what, actually, I think the single life, it's actually better, I'm going to be a career. But of course, I totally think that for some people, it's not like everyone needs to be in a relationship and everyone needs to date in the same way. But I also think it's such a fundamental human need that if the moment you're not getting matches on dating apps, people aren't getting back to your messages, you're constantly frustrated, but as you said, by having the same experiences come round and round again, maybe you get excited about someone, they let you down, and you're in this boom bust cycle, and you need to kind of step outside of that and take a look in. I think it's really coaching, just like in any area of your life, whether it's business or fitness. I think the dating thing can really work. I guess because I don't usually have other dating and relationship experts on here, and I know that you bring your own insight, and obviously you're from Seattle and a whole different area of the world to me, so I'm also interested to learn. I guess, have you got a golden piece of advice, or maybe two pieces of advice, if we're going to break this down in terms of men and women and make it more heteronormative, that you would advise to people if they are finding themselves stuck in that pattern?
Yes. Express interest is the first one. That's what I notice a lot is, and that's why things are at a standstill, because in order for things to move forward, we need to have the courage to express and signal, hey, I'm interested, I'm available, which then signals to them, hey, maybe this is going to be a place to invest my time. Oh, they're interested, right? Like, people don't invest if they don't feel that we're interested in them. So whether we're opening that door by expressing interest, or we're reciprocating interest, expressing interest by reciprocating or encouraging, it's really, really important, because just like us, other people need feedback to work with too. And if they're not getting any feedback, they don't want to make a fool of themselves either.
Right. And I guess that's something particularly, I mean, I'd hear it from both sides. I think for the men I work with, they would probably say, I'm worried that women don't want me to flirt with them, or that I'm doing something wrong or somehow nebulous and bad by trying to express a sexual or romantic interest. And I think
Yeah.
for women as well, they often can feel like, well, it's kind of the guy's role. You know, if we're talking very heterosexual dating, it's his role, it's his job to do stuff. And I don't want to seem too easy or like I'm chasing. So sometimes these kind of mindsets can really stop people from taking any action.
Yeah, and it's about reciprocation. So
Mm-hmm.
even if one person is taking more of the lead in terms of like direct expressions of interest or invitations or whatever it might be, you need to encourage them. You need to give them the feedback. And I
Mm-hmm.
love this about what you do of like showing both. There's a dance. There's a
Right.
dance between both sides, and it's super important to give someone encouragement to work with, whether we're the one making the direct moves or they are. And in terms of guys, because I've heard that a lot too, that question or that fear of like, oh, I want to express interest, I want to like be proactive, but I don't want to be creepy and I don't know where the line is.
And it's
Really
hard,
important,
right, to know where, for guys to know where is it between, if I do this, I'm going to just be the friend, and I don't want to be that, because that's what I keep being labeled as, and it doesn't feel like me. But I also don't want to be that creepy guy that I really don't identify with, that I've seen sleazing on women this whole time, and I just, and it's about helping those guys, I guess, find that middle ground.
Yeah, and I think so much of it too is about allowing there to be space for her to give you encouragement and feedback. So you can make those expressions of interest, but you have to leave enough space for then her to show up and show you how she's reciprocating or not. And that lack of feedback is feedback.
Yeah, because I was going to say, as soon as you said, oh, I want to talk about like expressing your interest, I was like, yes. And there's like, and also listening to the feedback if that interest isn't reciprocated. And that goes for everyone, right? It could be the guy who's sending multiple messages to, I guess it's on like the dating apps and stuff. He's sending a message. She kind of responded a couple of times, then her interest trailed off, and she hasn't even bothered to respond to the last like high quality message he sent. And he's there thinking, God, how do I get her attention back? And I'm thinking, maybe this is a time to draw the line there. Or it could, again, a lot of the time, I guess I see that's coming up when I suppose that people get really into a first impression of someone, whether that's attractive person on dating app responding to them, or someone where you have like 3 awesome dates in real life and then suddenly their interest kind of dissipates. It's really good as well, as you said, to create those feedback loops. And when you are not getting the feedback that you expect, to remind yourself to stay present and not build up too many expectations around where we're going in the future with this. Because I think also sometimes our first impression or how we want someone to be can be quite different for, as you said, how they show up and what they're actually able to offer. And if you can save your energy and your motivation and you keep looking for situations which reciprocate, I think it really helps people to stay motivated and stay on the right path.
Absolutely. Pay attention to what someone is showing you.
People are not that complicated, right? It's like it's like, oh, okay, if he hasn't actually arranged to meet you and he hasn't responded to the last couple of messages, I'm not going to overthink this. I'm just going to say either he's, that, to quote that terrible film, he's just not that into you, or more likely as well, he's just got other stuff going on in his life, and that is, he's showing you the maximum he can offer you right now, and that isn't lining up with what you want. So
exactly. And that doesn't necessarily make someone bad if they're not interested. It just makes them not that interested. And then we get to choose, okay, how am I going to engage or not engage with someone who's not that interested? And that's my responsibility. Yes.
I love it
again.
And I just want to be open about this, because the reason we got on this dating coach topic is I was talking to you on your podcast, actually, we'll put a link to that beneath this video, super awesome, a month or so ago. And we got into a mini rant, which I like having mini rants about the dating industry in general, because I think there's lots of people doing lots of good stuff out there. So I love your work. I love several other people's work in this industry. I think they're really trying to coach and help people out. But then there is a lot of kind of, to use a very English expression here, dodgy stuff happening. And I also wanted to use this video as kind of like a public safety announcement around probably just being a bit discerning in terms of what dating advice you follow. So from your perspective, Cora, what would you say when you read a piece of dating advice, or you read a dating blog or a video on YouTube, what screams at you kind of bad advice, or this advice probably isn't that tailored for the individual, or this might be overly playing on stereotypes and actually not that helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So something you said earlier was any language around getting someone. That is something to look out for. I think any getting or like conquering or that kind of rhetoric.
Right, because it makes it, because that's the opposite, right, of taking the feedback. It's exactly. Like, I'm going to ignore all the feedback and I'm going to assume that everything you're doing, this is just a signal to me of how well I'm playing this game, and I need to fix this puzzle and get this. And it's just like, no, it's not about a text message or about escalating more. It's possibly just listening to how this person is showing up for you, making a decision about whether to keep investing your energy or not.
Yeah, and ultimately that's more respectful to your self-worth, is not to say, oh, I can get anyone, because none of this is about getting everyone to like you. That's just a waste of time. It's just a fool's errand, right? But it is more respectful to yourself to say, oh, this person isn't showing interest in investment. I want to date people who are showing interest in investment in me. I'm going to move on. So yeah, I'd say any language that positions it like you are going to get someone, like get any man or woman or person to fall in love with you. Anything that postulates that big kind of like hyperbolic, like this works every time. This is like, because that's just not the reality. And anything that says like any person to fall in love with you, this one thing, like anything that makes it a silver bullet solution just doesn't account for the fact that what we're talking about here is one of the most nuanced, mysterious human dances ever. So again, like playful language is great. Like I even use the word game because I like to help my clients gamify things, but look at the game and look at, okay, does the game, in how someone's talking about a game, is it pitting the one person against the other, or is it the game of connecting, right? Because that the game has a shared incentive. So I'd say anything that makes a huge hyperbolic statement that like this is the one solution,
and it's also very
anyone.
Yeah, and it's also very fixed on one particular outcome, because you said like there's no, like, I'm sorry, but we cannot control outside reality all that much. So I would say as well, like just when I think from the guy side of things, I find dating advice often falls off the edge of a cliff after we've covered like get her phone number, get her to do this, more sexual stuff. After that, it's like boo, like it's like cut, and actually the establishing of the relationship, it doesn't have to be a committed, monogamous, long-term relationship, but it goes on like really approaching somebody or kissing someone or getting their phone number. That's the easy bit. It's the stuff that comes afterwards. And I think for women as well, probably the female version of that is making commitment like something you have to trick and slowly sneak it round a guy. Like it's like making it out again that like, I guess the same goes to the men's advice, right? It makes out that women don't want to flirt, they don't want to have sex, they don't want to actually enjoy those kind of relationships. And for women, it's like how to catch and keep a man, like he's this rare exotic bird. And it's like, actually there's plenty of guys out there, okay, some guys and some women don't want to have a committed relationship. That's their prerogative. That doesn't make them bad people. That's them. That's cool. But then there's this whole portion of people that does. So if you go into dating with the assumption that people aren't going to want the same things as you and you're going to have to kind of connive it out of them, again, I think that sets you up for like a lot of distress. In fact, one of like the weirdest ones I came across was back in the day. I used to work a lot. I can work with men and women now, but previously I did used to work a lot in the pickup industry, particularly with guys. And I remember some other coaches were teaching just approach 1,000 women so you can get past your fear of rejection. So it's kind of like, I don't know what that therapy is, but where you just keep doing something so it doesn't hurt anymore. You just get like totally numb to the experience. And what kind of was so bad, I thought about that, is it's like, it's assuming that 1,000 women are just going to reject you straight out, and you have to learn to deal with like the punishment and the torture of that process, rather than assuming actually a lot of those women are probably going to want similar things to you. And could there be a connection there? Or are you taking something as a rejection when in fact her signal means something totally different to that? Yeah. So I thought like the whole premise was like bad.
Yeah, that's such a great point with the, a lot of the rhetoric that's directed towards women of the like, get him to commit. Again, it's the get. Anytime there's get, it's you're trying to force someone into something. And I love what you said too, of like, there's a huge mindset shift to recognizing that we all have a lot more in common than we have different, than what's the syntax of that? Then there is difference between us. And that's really important to remember. And that's something I remind my clients of a lot, is that the person you're on a date with, they're rooting for you. They didn't get dressed up. They didn't like, you know, get a little nervous to come on a date hoping that it's going to be terrible. Like, they want you to be awesome. They want you to impress them. And they want a connection too. And again, as we said, not everyone wants a serious relationship. Not everyone even wants to date, and that's okay. That doesn't make them bad people, but it's, the onus is on us to discern, okay, if I do want that, why am I going on dates with people who don't? Yeah. And why am I pretending that I don't in order to then trick them into wanting what I want? It's about filtering people out faster and recognizing that the vast majority of people do want a connection. And if they don't want a committed relationship, they want a pleasant experience. They want honest communication. Most people really do want that. And I know that both you and I get that vantage point because we get to have all these conversations with people, and just realizing that most people don't know that.
Right. Yeah, the guys, and you're right, you're never afraid to filter someone out, right? If you feel abundant, if you're like, actually my self-esteem is totally in the right place, I've also got the right outlook on dating, like I'm not going to expect to be her, or that nobody wants the same things as me, or expect rejection. I'm going to expect that I'm going to go through a process of meeting people, and some are going to be closer or not so close to what I want. And that ultimately, actually, I think if you can shift your mindset around, instead of dating being like this self-punishing cycle, it can actually be something that could be motivating, it can be fun, it can be enjoyable. And I think a lot of that means letting go of an outcome. So with every day interaction you have, not seeing the feedback, well, seeing part of the feedback from that interaction as a reflection of you, but partly also a reflection of just where this other person is at this moment in their life, and not feeling like I really desperately need it to work out with this one individual, or I need to win that interaction, or I need to get that piece of feedback. Because actually, you know what, if I can just accept things as they are and let stuff go and not make a big deal of it, and not like, you know, I think also another, just while I'm here, another thing that really annoys me on this topic is the how to get your ex back canon of thought, which is again, that's a deep, dark internet thing you don't want to go into, people. It's like, I have actually got some videos titled that, and they essentially begin with me saying, don't do it. Because I think, again, any advice that's about you creating some elaborate plan of like not talking to someone for a month, and then you send them this message that kind of lures them back in. I'm like, talk about getting really overly emotionally invested in one particular outcome, and actually closing down your mind to all of the different ways your life could be meaningful and awesome and happy, and all the other different people you could meet. So again, I think if you can, as hard as it is with dating, to stay present, not build up expectations, not go too far into the future, and also to not be too focused on a particular outcome, and just keep taking the right action steps for you, which is, as we've discussed, and this is what dating coaches help you with, right? It's like cultivating your standards, helping out with your communication, make sure how you're representing yourself in the world, whether it's an online dating profile or how you're flirting with someone on a first date, actually lines up with who you are and what you want. And I think that can be where the really good stuff is. And I think, just as a health warning, if you hear any of that mumbo jumbo on the internet about achieving definite outcome, married, get your ex back, make her like you, get whatever it is, ignore and pass it by.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you said around it being a process is so important. And that actually is what brings in the outcome that you want, is when you are able to approach it as a process. And also, anything that is that getting, that is that pushing, is that kind of conniving that we're talking about, it's not sustainable. So to your point of something falling off a cliff, or the advice kind of falling off a cliff, how are you going to feel in a relationship? Let's say that it all works and you get
your cutting plan works.
Right, exactly. How are you going to feel in that relationship knowing that you pulled some strings behind the scenes, and like, you're not going to trust and feel confident in the foundation of that relationship because you're not going to fully believe in their affection for you. And
they're not going to have, you're not going to have acceptance from that other person or understanding. And I think that performance can only go on so long before, you know, ultimately, before ultimately you have to be kind of in your sweatpants with someone, and like someone's got a stomach bug or some real life stuff is happening, and you have to just still like one another.
Exactly. You got to look at the whole picture, and the relationship, the foundation that you're setting up in the courtship phase for the relationship you're going to have. So it's not just the first date. It's like all of that is building and setting a foundation for something bigger.
Totally agree with that. It's all about setting precedents. And also, you're right. I think a dating coach can also really help you kind of, I'm going to use the word strategically, because I don't know, it sounds like a bit of a naughty word, but I think that's okay. Helps you to kind of analyze and go like, are my filters in the right place? Am I prioritizing the right things? Am I spending my time in the right way? Am I reading people's signals and messages correctly, or is everything totally off? And I think that can be really helpful to get realigned. So Cora is obviously somebody who doesn't sell snake oil and is seriously good at what she teaches, as you've probably been able to witness. I know you're doing a flirtation course, which looks, I mean, if I wasn't married, I would like to come along, you know, it looks really awesome. But can you tell us a bit more about, for the people that are watching, where they can find you, how they can connect, and the kind of work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on my website at coraboydcoaching.com, or on Instagram at the Cora Boyd, and YouTube coming soon. You heard it here first. And yeah, I have the flirting course, which is rolling, and I'm going to be rolling out some new exciting kind of deep dive courses in 2021. And then I also have my signature offer, Magnetics Love School, which is a 3-month intimate cohort experience. And that's going to be kicking off for the January cohort soon.
Okay, awesome. So I would just say follow Cora on Insta, follow the stories. She gives loads of amazing advice, and then you also get to hear about what stuff is coming up. But thank you for like joining me on our little tour through the dating coach industry. I feel like we could have talked for longer. Unfortunately, I've got a baby upstairs that needs a bath and some porridge. But if that wasn't the case, but I would really recommend everybody to check out Cora's stuff. She's awesome. And I will see everybody here again very soon.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Woo! That was great.